In this video, I want to explain stacking functions with multi-purpose infrastructure and show you a couple examples. I haven't seen this concept talked about in the lean community, but I think it's an extremely important one that I originally heard from Joel Salatin, who's a farmer out in Virginia. The concept of stacking functions I've seen in the permaculture world, so I'm going to show you a few examples of what it means in this video. So the first example is with a hoop house. If you're a farmer or a gardener like I am, this is a hoop house. It's basically a greenhouse without heat and without vents. It's just a very simple, basic type of greenhouse. Basically, it's just these ribs with the plastic over it, and the sides will roll up, and that's really the only thing that it does. It basically creates a microclimate for your plants in cold weather, so that it's slightly warmer in here. It gives you a jump start on the growing season and allows you to grow plants earlier in the season and later. It's season extension, basically. So basically, you use it for plants in the summertime, and then it just sits dormant all winter. So if we can find multiple purposes for this infrastructure, all of a sudden the economics change, and this infrastructure becomes much more valuable. So in the summer, you might grow plants. In the winter, let me find my picture here, you might house your chickens in the same structure. This keeps the wind off the chickens. The sun warms the chicken coop. And now your chickens are also littering down here, which can then be used to fertilize the plants the following year. You can see how the benefits are somewhat compounding. So here's one of my favorite examples of stacking functions. This guy is a gardener. This is from the Plant Abundance YouTube channel. In his backyard, he has a little hoop house where he starts his garden plants. It gets cold enough there that he needed to figure out how to heat his hoop house. So what he came up with was, instead of, wasting propane or installing a furnace, which only has one purpose and is expensive, he basically bought this inflatable hot tub for a couple $100, just a cheap inflatable hot tub. So what he's essentially doing here is capturing the waste heat from the hot tub and using it to warm up his greenhouse. And he uses this, the lid, he's basically using as a heat mat. And, it's also heating up to ambient air temp. And unlike a furnace, he now has a luxurious recreational activity that he can partake in the use of his hot tub as a hot tub. So link to that full video in the description. It's really cool. Check it out. So I've done videos on this before, but this is my own home recording studio. It's just a bedroom in the basement. But I want to show you how I stack functions with multi-purpose infrastructure. So the need here is for acoustic treatment. And acoustic treatment is very expensive. So we had some rugs rolled up that were just laying around, taking up space. Figured I'd put them to use by just storing them in here. I do use this one on the deck in the summer, so when I need it, I just take it out. I also had plenty of blankets, towels, and clothes that serve no purpose, add no value sitting in a box or in the closet. So I'm serving multiple purposes. I also have some mattresses and pillows that, just sit around waiting for guests who only show up a couple times a year. So I might as well put this infrastructure to use while it's not being used. It's not pretty looking for sure, but the value of me having a pretty studio is nothing. I mean, nobody sees it. 99% of the time I'm staring at a screen, so I don't see it. And even if people do see it, I'll justify it as extreme resource efficiency. So it's not pretty, but I'm proud of it. So I mentioned I learned these concepts from Joel Salatin, who's a farmer out in Virginia. I'm going to try to describe how he stacks functions with this multi-purpose hay shed, but I'll link in the description to a video of him actually explaining it in depth. But I'll try to share the gist of it. So he stores his hay here in the center of his hay shed, and his cattle during the winter are located on either side. So there's very little wasted motion from where he has to feed the hay to where the cattle consume it. So that's one nice design benefit. So this shelter is also capturing the nutrients from the cattle as they poop and pee all winter. So basically he has to add his bedding, his wood chips and straw and stuff as the winter progresses. While he's layering up that bedding, he's also he's sprinkling some corn in the bedding as well, which serves a purpose in the spring. So when the cattle move out of here in the spring, he brings his pigs into this shelter. And the pigs will smell that corn. It's somewhat fermented. They smell it. They dig around for it. And in the process, his pigs are doing the labor for him by stirring and aerating this bedding to speed up the composting process. So he's utilizing his pigs as a workforce, as labor, to do the work for him. And it's acting as a shelter for the pigs early in the spring when they're not ready to quite go on pasture. So this shed serves as hay storage, cattle shelter, hog shelter, and a fertility generation system. Here's just a couple more pictures. You can see his pigs rooting around in that bedding, stirring and aerating the compost, looking for that corn. Just another view here. You can see how the bedding gets kind of deep. You can see his cattle are over here, and the pigs just root around and stir it up. So that's a quick lesson on stacking functions with multi-purpose infrastructure. If you have some examples in your shop or somewhere on the internet, share them down in the description, because there's not a lot of places on the internet that are talking about this subject. So if we can create this thread as a valuable resource for the rest of us, that would be really amazing. Thank you for tolerating the low production value of this video, but sometimes you just got to get it done with what you have. So thanks, guys.